So that was a long speech by both President Donald Trump and the Prince of Saudi Arabia, Prince Mohammed bin Salman Al Saud. And they've talked about a lot of things, the investment between Saudi Arabia and the United States, where the Crown Prince did promise that he's going to increase the investment from $600 billion to $1 trillion. There's also talk about how the United States is going to provide F-35 fighter jets to Saudi Arabia. And the conversation also tilted towards AI investment between the United States and Saudi Arabia. Let's talk to our correspondent, first of all, Susan Teherani. Susan, there was a very interesting question that was asked by one of the reporters there. Can Saudi Arabia afford $1 trillion with lower oil prices? Well, the Crown Prince did say, we are not creating fake opportunities to please America or to please President Trump. It's real opportunities. He says Saudi Arabia is ready for this investment.
Yeah, I just want to say, Eric, watching those the interaction between the two men really shows how much of a commitment they have for this partnership, how they're both really trying to move past the Biden years where there were wrinkles in the relationship and sort of rebuild this trust, which they have clearly had. They were very comfortable in each other's presence. And that was the headline that Saudi Arabia said that they are going to increase their investment from $600 billion to $1 trillion. They see as an opportunity not only for the United States, but they also see it as an opportunity for Saudi Arabia as well in many sectors. I also thought it was very interesting that bin Salman mentioned that, they have issues with their workforce. A lot of the workforce is leaving Saudi Arabia, so they're relying a lot on technology, on AI, and on the workforce to be electronic moving forward for the future of Saudi Arabia. And they believe that this investment is going to help those in Saudi Arabia and also help Saudi Arabia move forward in that sector. So this is an investment, despite low oil prices, that they're willing to make because of the advancement of those issues in Saudi Arabia as well.
Mm-hmm. Susan, there was also a point of friction we saw there at the Oval Office when the Prince was asked about the journalist's murder, and Trump jumped in. He actually said now it's not the appropriate time to ask the Prince such a question, and now you're embarrassing the country, you're embarrassing America. But the Prince did clarify. He said he did not know about the murder of the journalist. The investigation is currently ongoing. He also added that it's very sad that people were lost in his country, and Saudi Arabia is steadfast in finding the culprits. But he also moved on and said that the people who are trying to divide the relationship between Saudi Arabia and America, and to be specific, he did say Al-Qaeda operative bin Laden was the person or the mastermind who tried to break that relationship. How did you see that conversation? What did you read from that body language from President Trump?
Yeah, I think President Trump is very adamant in putting these issues behind them because he has a pragmatic overlook when it comes to foreign policy. What can they do for us? What can we do for them? I also thought that it was noteworthy that the question was asked because those reporters, when they come into the White House and as this meeting is taking place, there are 5 families of 9/11 victims that are standing outside of the White House and they're protesting. So not only the issue of the 9/11 and some of the hijackers being of Saudi descent is still front and center in many Americans' minds, but then there's the issue of the Jamal Khashoggi, the Washington Post journalist, that was very prominent, again, notably during the previous administration. This administration has decided to have confidence in what the Saudi government is saying. They have been very consistent in saying that they had nothing to do with that. And I think that he is, the president has concerns right now about, this is at least according to him. How I saw it is he has concerns about what the media focuses on and what the media doesn't focus on when it comes to his administration and what his administration is doing. And we saw that similar sort of back and forth with another reporter who tried to bring the Jeffrey Epstein issue forward. He believes that he wants this press conference to be about the investment, the camaraderie, about better ties between the two countries, their opportunities moving forward. And he gets sort of thrown off when the issue is focused on, although very viable, on issues that perhaps are related to the past or that will take the spotlight away from the achievements that they're making. So I think that was sort of where he was, where his mindset was.
Interestingly, it was the same reporter who actually asked about the Epstein files, and the president was visibly angry about that question. We'll not delve into that. Well, let's talk about the Abraham Accords, because it was brought up, and the prince was asked if he wants to be part of the Abraham Accords. This is his response. It was a very interesting response. We want to be part of the Accords, but we want the two-state solution to be included in these Accords. Just for context for our viewers, the 2020 Abraham Accords brokered by the United States saw some Arab states, including the UAE, establish full diplomatic relations with Israel. But both leaders said they discussed and they had a fruitful discussion or results, including in regards to the Abraham Accords. What do you make of the discussion or that part of the Abraham Accords?
It was interestingly a lot more positive than I had anticipated, but I also noticed that in Ben Salman's mannerism throughout this bilateral meeting, he was very measured, he was very diplomatic, he was very open as he was sitting there to all possibilities and to talk about all issues, including the Abraham Accord. Now, while he is the de facto leader of Saudi Arabia, his father, the king, really is not a fan of the Abraham Accord with the situation between Israel and Palestine as the way it is right now. And I think that while he may be open to these discussions and some breakthrough may ultimately take place during President Trump's second term, perhaps not immediately, he also has an audience back home. He has an audience among his allies in the Arab world, and most importantly, his father, the king.
Also, something that was brought up is the civil nuclear deal. Trump was asked whether he can see a formal civil nuclear deal to be reached soon with Saudi Arabia. His response was very guarded and it was very straight. He said, I can see that happening, but it's not urgent.
Right, and he again diverted the topic of conversation to the issue of oil and gas, which is just so much more vibrant when it comes to relations between the two sides. We are hearing from the White House, despite the fact that there was a promise that some kind of deal under the 123 nuclear agreement would have been signed between the two sides. Reports from the White House indicate that that text has not fully been drafted yet. And I think that because we received those preliminary reports about civil nuclear cooperation between the two sides, it was in the headlines. And now it appears that maybe either side or one side is not ready to move forward because that's not on the table to be signed during this visit, at least for the time being. And he's going to be here today and tomorrow.
Let's not also forget about what is happening right now, and the current news is the Epstein files, and there's a vote that is going to happen in a few hours from now. And the president was asked about that question. He did seemingly seem very angry with the reporter and especially with ABC News because of being asked that question. But he did answer. He says that this is a Democrat hoax. And he also actually did say something very interesting. He says that Democrats were paid a lot of money by Epstein. Do you actually think this is a diversionary tactic by the president?
Well, you know, it's just, so here's the thing. There has been so much focus on trying to find some kind of relationship between Trump and Epstein. But in the last 48 hours, there's been a trove of evidence that came out, notably among the former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, who decided to step down because of his cozy relationship with Epstein, and also how there's a bombshell, and I'm not sure that it's completely outside of the United States, that there was a Democrat lawmaker, a representative from Virgin Island, who was questioning Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, during a testimony, and Jeffrey Epstein was feeding her lines about what to ask from Jeffrey Epstein. So you have that, you have this, and then you have this vote coming up. Again, not that, you know, anyone has to abide by what Trump wants. Reporters are free to ask what they want. He just feels that the focus has been too much on him and not the Democrats. And I think he sort of finds these opportunities where he's live on TV directly talking to people, where he can at least get this out, where, you know, maybe in another situation, other people wouldn't be able to find out. But that's beside the point. I think the main point right now for the victims and in the spirit of transparency for the American people, the House has to pass this bill. It's ridiculous that it's taken so long. Everyone agrees. It has to go to the Senate and President Trump has to sign it. He can deviate to the Democrats, Republicans, all he wants. Once these papers are out, these files are out, the chips will fall where they may.
All right, Susan, finally, what happens next now that the prince is there? I understand that the president did say that they're going to have dinner in the East Room tonight, which he terms as very small.
Yes, the location in Trump's mind is very, very small, and that again is to his defense for trying to build this ballroom that again has caused some uproar among some people, notably the Democrats. So they will have lunch, and then bin Salman will leave the White House. It was supposed to be 2 o'clock. It's probably going to be later now. And then bin Salman is going to come back. They will have a black tie lavish dinner at the level of a state dinner, although again technically this isn't a state dinner because he is the de facto leader, but his father is really the leader. But they're going to have all the props and pageantries for a state dinner. We are expected to find out who's going to be at that dinner besides the president and the delegation that bin Salman brought with him, and of course the administration. There's going to be a number of CEOs and business leaders from the United States and Saudi Arabia who are going to be taking part in that as well. Of course, bin Salman is also expected to meet with both members of the House and the Senate later today. And then tomorrow, they're going to have a roundtable with the president, again, with some business leaders. Just such a focus on the economy and the investment and business aspect of this trip.
All right, Susan Teherani, it's good to see you. Thank you very much for talking to us today. And yes, indeed, the official state visit of the Saudi Crown Prince bin Salman has begun in the United States. We saw him and the president addressing the reporters at the White House. Susan, goodbye.